Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 748. My opponent kicked off with d4 and I played d5. So just going into one of the traditional d4, d5 openings. But, well, instead of playing c4 or knight f3, the main moves there, he played e3. And this is a pretty interesting move. This could signal one of two ideas here. He could be going for a Colle system, where he keeps the pieces behind the pawn chain, develops with c3, bishop d3, knight here, and then plays for the eventual e4 to liberate the dark squared bishop. That would be the Colle system. Also, the Colle Zukertort with b3 is possible. But the other idea is to play for f4, the stonewall attack. So two different systems are in play here, and you have to choose a move that will meet whatever white has in mind. So knight f6 is a good flexible move, defending the center. And notice that I'm not, the other choice here, the other main move here rather, is e6. But that blocks in this bishop. And what I've been experimenting with lately against these systems is trying to keep my options open for the light squared bishop. And we'll see that in this game. So he played bishop d3. Still could be either one, Colle system or stonewall attack. I play c5. And now by far the main move here is c3. Basically, whether you're playing the Colle system or the stonewall attack, the typical way that it's played is that white really wants to shore up the center first, have a really solid center, and then go for the kingside attack. That's kind of the theme of those openings. And so c3 is a natural part of that, defending the center. And the knight's not coming to c3 anyway. The knight is going to d2, so it's not blocking the natural development of the knight. But he's playing, in a way, I guess, he played knight d2 immediately, so this is no longer in the opening book. But in a way, he's trying to play an accelerated stonewall. He's not bothering to defend the center, and he's ready to play f4 immediately. So, as I said, I've been experimenting with the idea of, against these setups, either the stonewall attack or the Colle system, of developing the light squared bishop out here on the king side. And I realized I could do it at this point, even though he hasn't got a knight here for me to pin. I can do this move with tempo because I'm hitting the queen, and he obligingly brings the knight out and pins it. So we're no longer in a stonewall. We're now definitely in a Colle system with the knight blocking the f pawn. But my idea is that these systems, both of them, are aimed at these kingside attacks, and so it makes some sense to bring this bishop over here in preparation, have it on the king side, not knocked out, and so I'm ready to face any kind of kingside attack. So let's see. After he played knight f3, I just shore up the center, and the bishop is now locked out of the queen side, and well, white shores up his center. I play knight c6. So I'm feeling pretty good about my development, but it's always a risk when you vacate your queenside piece and put it over on the king side that your opponent may get counterplay on the queen side, and so he starts going for that. So, the chess engine likes black here. I think black has a little more space and good pieces. But still, I think white is playing in an interesting and principled way. In effect, he's going to try and put pressure on the queen side since I've put my bishop over here on the king side. But it looks like I can hold off this pressure just fine. So I start with queen c7. He was already maybe threatening to bring the knight in here with a double attack, in a way, kind of a double attack, hitting my pin knight and hitting the bishop over here, which I didn't really want to trade at this point. So queen c7 defends, and now if he plays knight to defends the knight, and now if he plays knight to e5, I can just retreat my bishop, and so I save the bishop pair. So he plays bishop b5, piling up on my knight, but he did waste a move with that bishop because it went first to d3 and then to b5. So it's kind of a change of plans for white, and I think that's why black got some kind of advantage out of this opening. So a success so far. Here I decided to take the knight just to eliminate this possibility of knight e5. I really wanted to play knight d7 to unpin. And looking at this with a chess engine, I could have played knight d7 immediately. I didn't have to trade the bishop off, so this might have been a better way to play. If he jumps in with knight e5 here, there's no longer a pin because I've got both knights in there, and I can actually take that knight off and this would be good for white as well. But it turns out this move is also good for white. Let's see, he brings his knight in, and now I can play knight d7, unpinning my knights, and I've got this e5 square well defended. So he takes on c6, so he gives back the bishop pair. He had the bishop pair for a little bit, and he gave it back in order to get rid of that knight and allow him to play this knight e5 move. But well, I don't want to leave that knight there, so I just take it off. And it's a interesting tactical idea here. I can't win a pawn because he's attacking my c pawn, so he's indirectly defended that e pawn for the moment. So I'm going to castle, get away from that check if white ever takes on c6, but that gives black's time to defend the center. So although black came out of the opening with an advantage and still has an advantage, it's not a huge advantage. You know, it's like sort of like black has the opening advantage instead of white, but it's still a game. And there's some interesting maneuvering to be done here with the heavy pieces. But I think black is a little better, mainly because, well, this bishop hasn't been developed yet, but I think the biggest factor is that these pawns are on dark squares. And so so white's going to have to waste some time to open up lines for his dark squared bishop, whereas my bishop is already pretty well placed and has some open lines. Let's see, he goes queen b6. Oh, I went queen b6. Oh yeah, I put my queen on this diagonal. I thought this might be interesting. Open up some tactical possibilities looking at king there. So he steps away from that. I play my f rook to d8. I'm thinking of pushing through in the center here. He played rook to e1, and I went f6. The chess engine actually doesn't approve of this plan so much. It wants to play on the queen side. Yeah, I guess that's okay. At this point, you know, enough pieces have been traded, and this bishop is kind of in the center, so I can't say that white has an advantage on the queen side anymore. So a line from the chess engine, for example, is rook a to b8, say queen back to c2, because the queen, it's not clear the queen is doing anything on that and on that square on the side of the board. Then a6. I honestly don't know what that's about, although it gets the pawn off of a dark square. Queen to f2, rook to b7. So, you know, the chess engine moves seem to me to be kind of waiting. And eventually white has to play this move, e4, to open up lines for the bishop. And after the exchange, bring the queen forward to b5. And it's kind of mysterious, but well, the queen is looking at these light squares here, which he can't defend with his bishop, and the rook is owning the d file. Yeah, I guess it's still better for black, just because of the control of the d file. Anyway, interesting way to play, but not. It's a little hard to find these ideas. I mean, some of these moves look like black is just waiting, and I'm always trying to do something a little active. And I was trying to undermine the center with f6, which the computer didn't like at first, but after it thought about this position for a while, it thought it was okay. And it kind of forces an exchange, because I'm really threatening to take this pawn and leave him with doubled e-pawns, which would be pretty ugly. So he takes, and I get a good post for my bishop, and now I'm thinking of pushing this pawn forward and maybe disrupting his pawn structure on the queen side. Disrupting his pawn structure on the queen side a bit. So he pushes on with e4 immediately. And that's a good move, and it's something he needs to do. He needs to open up lines. Not there. He needs to open up that diagonal for his bishop. So, and I really didn't like the idea that he would play e4, although the chess engine says, he play e4 to e5. I thought that was kind of annoying. The chess engine says it's okay. Just play rook a to b8. Keep pressure on the queen side. Let's see, queen c2. Maybe play with c4, and just allow white to play e4, e5 if he wants to. Anyway, I didn't like that idea, and I played e5 to stop white from playing e5. But this is a mistake. It's actually a blunder. So if you want to spot the tactic here, it's white's turn to move. What can white play to take advantage of my mistake? Okay, pause the video if you want time to think about it. I am going to give the answer away now. What white can do is white can just take that pawn. And my best move is actually to retreat the bishop, go to e7 or go out here to h5. Those are the two moves the chess engine gave. The problem is if you take the pawn, then this move comes with tempo. He takes another pawn and he hits my bishop at the same time. So anyway, e5, the move I played, just loses the e5 pawn. And he played a little too quickly here. He brought his queen back to c2. Didn't pause to look for those little tactics. I wasn't too hard to see. I actually spotted that during the game, I think. So he really should have found that. Let's see. Anyway, after queen c2, I play with d4. So now he doesn't have this trick of taking on d5 with the tempo on my bishop. So he no longer wins any material here. So he just pushed on with f5 and kind of survived that little mishap with still a slight edge here. Let's see. I push on with d3. I'm going to get a passed pawn here. And get a protected passed pawn. He goes queen f2, c4. So this is all okay for black. Although I think my position was better a little earlier before I played that e5 move. Anyway, he goes bishop e3. Kicking my queen around, I drop back. Goes rook a to d1. So he's finally got his pieces out, and he's prepared to blockade my pawns. But I think I am better here just because you know, I'm the one who's got the passed pawn, and I'm putting the pressure on. But he's changed the pawn structure in such a way that these are on light squares. My bishop is now blocked in behind a pawn, and his bishop is active. So he's made some progress here. Let's see. I played a5 because, well, he was piling up on the a pawn, and I didn't want to have to babysit that pawn forever. And he went rook d2. So, you know, I mean, I could have immediately tried to pile up on the b pawn, but he always had that defensive move there. So anyway, the chess engine right here thinks the best move is rook d to b8, and this keeps an edge for black. So that's the way. Just keep pressure on the queen side, maybe with the idea of pushing the a pawn forward, undermine these pawns over here. And I guess that's okay. I tried rook d to c8. I think I was kind of wandering a little bit here. Because I think I played this with the idea of pushing the c pawn forward, which can't happen. I can't get that c pawn forward. I was trying to figure out, because he's got that square covered, I was trying to figure out how to push the c pawn forward so I could open up the queen on this diagonal. Yeah, it's just a plan that is not does not work. There's no way to make that work. So anyway, yeah, rather than rook to c8, better move would be rook to b8 or a4 immediately. Anyway, I went rook d to c8. He went g4. This is a good move, and this is one of the ways that white equalizes in this position. Let's see, I drop my bishop back. He's threatening to just keep pushing those pawns forward anyway. And then he played bishop c5. That's probably not the best way for him to proceed because these exchanges allow me to bring my queen up. And yeah, his bishop, he was training bishops at a time when his bishop had become the better bishop, actually. So that was a little bit of a mistake. Let's see, he goes queen back to d6. He doesn't want to trade queens and straighten out my pawns here and just leave me with that passed pawn advantage. That would definitely be good for me. Oh, he didn't go back. He went forward. He went queen to d6. Interesting play. So I thought maybe I could get some mileage out of chasing his queen around, but it's not clear that this netted me a whole lot. Let's see, I started with rook to d8. He went with the check, king h8, and then he played f6. Yeah, and this is a little bit tricky. He's actually opening up lines against my king. Let's see, I can chase the queen again, but of course he has this intermediate move where he can take and you know, remove some of my pawn cover, and then he went queen to f5. So let's see, right here, yeah, so queen to f5 was a little bit quick. He has a winning attack right here with queen to d7 check. Well, not winning, but he has a good attack, an interesting attack with queen d7 check, king h8, and rook to f1. And this is looking very dangerous. Although the chess engine says black can still defend here. So, but anyway, that was a very interesting play from white, infiltrating with the queen like that. But then queen f5 lets off the pressure a little bit. See, I get rook f8, so I get control of the f file. Goes with queen g5 check. I tuck my king away on h8, and then he went king g2, and I think that is actually the losing move in this game. So what should he play here? The chess engine gives this line, b3. not an easy move to think of, right? All the action has been on the king side the last few moves, so you naturally want to try and think of moves over on this side of the board. But anyway, b3, say rook a to e8. You see this defends the e-pawn and frees up the queen to move, so that when he takes, he can take back with the queen, and then h3. And it just gives an edge. Oh no, I think this is still in the range of about even here, but well, it's a playable game. Interesting position with pluses and minuses. My king is a bit exposed, but well, his king may have some issues too. I have this passed pawn, but he can pile up on it. My queen is kind of in the way of where I want my pawn to be, so there are defects in both positions. But king g2 allows me to turn the tables here, and rook f4. I think there was another move that was also good, but rook f4 is a good move here, and I have an advantage from this point forward. Let's see, he defends his g-pawn, and I play queen c5. Yeah, I think the other move, instead of rook f4, the other move was queen c5 immediately. But well, there's this idea of just coordinating on the f file with the queen and the rooks, and taking advantage of his exposed king, and yeah, he just gets into trouble here. So rook to g8, I chase his queen first. Queen went to h6. And all of this is just winning for black. I haven't got a material edge yet, but the pressure of the attack, I just have too much going on here, and he can't defend against all of the threats. Let's see, he went king g2, and there is a winning tactic here that I missed. This is not maybe so easy to find, but it's kind of cute. So if you want to take some time, see if you can find a winning move for black in this position. Okay, pause the video if you want to think about this for a while. I'm going to give the answer away. The answer is rook takes pawn, check. Now he can't take with the queen, and he's going to lose the queen if he doesn't take that rook, so he has to take with the pawn. And now you have this move, queen to f4, and this is winning. Maybe it's not so obvious, but there's two threats. This rook is loose here. That's one thing, and of course you're threatening to take here with the check and win the queen. And well, the queen can come over here and check, but I can block that check, and I still have a winning attack against his king. His rooks are a little bit out of play. So anyway, that's a winning tactic for black there, just grabbing that pawn. Kind of cool. Yeah, I didn't spot that during the game. I just doubled on the f file. This is still winning, but it wasn't as clean a win or as clever as that rook takes g4 move. Let's see, he dropped his queen back to g3. I pushed on with c5. Yeah, I think maybe I had ideas of bringing the queen to this diagonal and looking at that pawn again. I'd been thinking that way for a while. He played h4, played rook f3, and I thought his queen was just trapped. I had noticed earlier in this position that if I played the rook here, his queen had very few squares. But in both positions, his queen does have a square that I didn't realize, and that is this one. Pretty annoying. But I am still winning. I just need to find the right move here. And the right move is queen to g7. Queen to g7 is a win. It blocks the pin, so my rooks are free to move. It's threatening on g4 there with the mate in the corner, similar to what happened in the game. And if his queen tries to check anywhere on the back rank, I can just drop the rook back and protect. So that rook is no longer pinned. So anyway, that would be a win, just queen to g7. I didn't spot that idea. I might have been low on time. I remember being a little bit frantic at this point in the game, worrying that the tide had turned once again. This is kind of a back and forth game. So I went king g8, and well, he just chased my king around, and I gave me other opportunities. Right here, I could play that queen g7 move again, but let's just go through these checks. and then we get to a key moment. He could have, at this point, repeated and just gone for the draw, and I would have taken it at this point. But what he found, what he played was the losing move here. And that was queen takes c4. And that just allows me to continue my attack. And the funny thing is, after this exchange, rook takes, check, rook takes check, say king g1, that's where he played. I can bring my queen in, and what he probably didn't realize, he probably thought he had, he could always return to checking me. But where the queen is, it has no checks. The pawn is guarding that square, and there's just no square the queen can go to. So in fact, there's a forced mate in this position. In fact, it was after queen takes c4, it was a forced mate, starting with rook f2 check. So I played this part correctly, and there was just no way out for white at this point. So anyway, the moral is sometimes you need to settle for the draw. So queen f3, he went queen to e6, trying to get the queen back into the game, at least to deliver some checks, but this is already too late because this check drives the king to the corner and the rook mates. So anyway, nice win and an interesting game. Hope you guys like that, and I will see you again soon. Bye.